Today's episode is brought to you by Freedom Project Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Before we get started, please hit that share button so we can educate more patriots around the country. Today, we're kicking things off with our international correspondent, Alex Newman. And Alex, you're in studio with us. That's not a hologram. He's sitting right next to me, and so we're very thrilled to have him here. He's a bit of a rock star. We're starting with Betsy DeVos. Now, Betsy DeVos is the former Department of Education secretary under Donald Trump, and to be very, very blunt, she was an incredibly disappointing choice. In the first place, she was on Jeb Bush's Common Core committee team when he was running for president of the United States. She literally was working with Jeb Bush to get Common Core in all the schools after Jeb Bush dropped out for some unknown reason. Well, I think the reason is because she and her family have billions of dollars to donate. I think that's the reason ultimately she got the job at the Department of Education under Donald Trump, and it was largely a forgettable, if not disastrous, term. She didn't make things worse, Alex. She didn't throw gasoline on the fire like the Department of Education under Joe Biden is. But the body public, when it came to education that she inherited, was already in stage 4 cancer. And she did nothing to remit that cancer at all, and allowed, when Biden took up office 4 years later, to actually move right after where Obama had left off. And so, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was not impressed with Betsy DeVos when she was serving, and I'm also not impressed with her now. I mean, I'm very pleased that she's saying things like we need to abolish the Department of Education, but that's common wisdom among conservatives and really anybody with a brain who's thinking critically or who understands the Constitution. And you really have to look at the record of these people, and her record has been disastrous. Her big claim to fame is promoting this so-called education choice or school choice agenda, and I have serious concerns about that, and so do a lot of other people. In fact, all the big homeschooling associations have fought this agenda tooth and nail because they don't want tax money going to homeschool families. And a lot of the heavyweights in this movement have pointed out that is really just the cheese in the mousetrap to get private schools and Christian schools and homeschoolers to come and take government money and then get stuck in the trap of government control. So, Betsy DeVos has a long history of promoting this Common Core stuff. Like you mentioned, she was with Jeb Bush. She actually fought tooth and nail to keep it in Michigan when there was a real chance to get it ousted from there. So, it's great that she's talking like this. She's got a big platform, but I don't think we can afford to be fooled anymore.
Yeah, and as you said before we started filming, now she sounds like a conservative because she wants to sell a book. Yeah. How many liberals are you going to think are going to buy a book by Betsy DeVos, right?
Right?
The answer is none. So, hey, American public, with all due respect, be careful of what you're going to buy here because she's pandering in many ways. Take a look at the video.
Well, I've said often, I frankly don't think the Department of Education should exist. And that would get rid of a lot of the...
Did that play well?
Not necessarily with the staff there, but with a lot of folks outside of Washington it does. Because really, for any of the creative, reforms that we advanced, we really had to essentially work around most of the career staff because there were very few who would actually get the work done that needed to be done, or would present options that weren't even close to what we were attempting to do.
Well, she's absolutely right. She did very little because, in large part, the entire D.C. apparatus, not just the bureaucrats at the Department of Education, were not on her side. I'll give her total credit for the one thing she did do. She did help protect young boys on college campuses who were accused of sexual crimes. They were now, under DeVos, allowed to have due process. They were allowed to see the evidence against him. She did a good job with that, but other than that, I can't think of a single thing that she did. And my question to you, Alex, is that you were the department secretary for 4 years. You never once mentioned getting rid of it. You never tried to get rid of it. And now that you've got hawking a book on the national tour, it would be like somebody saying, you know, gee, I tried to warn them about burning down the building, but only after the ashes were raked through. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's pretty sad, and we have so many of these people in our political scene where every once in a while they'll talk really conservative, try to garner support from the grassroots movement, but Betsy DeVos, unfortunately, is just, she's got a lot of work to do if she wants to redeem herself in the eyes of conservatives, and just saying, standard conservative talking points like we need to abolish the Department of Education is not going to be enough. She's a billionaire, she comes from a billionaire family. You got to put your money where your mouth is. Maybe some nice grants for actual organizations that are actually moving the needle forward would be a good way to try to redeem yourself. But we have so many of these people that grovel before the grassroots when they feel like they need something, whether it's to sell a book or to win an election, and then the moment they actually get what they want, whether that's political power or whatever, they're just ready to stick the knife in our backs. And we've got to stop falling for this stuff.
Yeah, what you got to do, Betsy DeVos, and all of you out there who want our conservative vote, you have to be very vocal about getting rid of the Department of Education. You have to demonstrate, especially if you're on the inside of the Department of Education, but generally, you have to point out repeatedly the danger this has done. One of the things that Betsy DeVos did during her 4-year term was solidify and advance the alignment between American public school education and UN agendas. I'm sorry, you're not a reformer if you're tying us closer to UNESCO. It's a disaster. You want to fix this, you've got to be really serious about pointing out that the moms and dads are in charge, not state or federal bureaucrats. Until that is done, and I don't hear a lot of that from Betsy DeVos, even after she's been the secretary, nothing's going to get any better. Alex Newman, thank you so much for your time today.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
I feel lighter this week. It's only in the pocketbook, but lighter nonetheless. Meanwhile, our leaders are out there in their safe spaces doing the important tasks for the good of the American people, for the betterment of peoplekind, but really only to puff their narcissism and trash any and all of you who don't move lockstep with them. And we start here.
Now, I don't know why they do this, but they only give me 1 pen. I used to stand in absolute awe and watch Barack Obama sign with 7, 8, 9 different pens, Barack Obama.
I'm in awe.
Awful. The narcissism is strong with that bunch, and if you don't join them lockstep and key, then you are the actual Dr. Evils.
Look, this is not your father's Republican Party. This is a MAGA party. It's a very different Republican Party.
Look, I believe in bipartisanship, but I have no illusions about this Republican Party, the MAGA party. I've been able to bring some Republicans along on parts of my plan, but the fact is Republicans in Congress are still in the grip of the ultra MAGA agenda.
Ultra super duper spectacular MAGA agenda. Like the corn pops of the world. Yeah, the world's a-changin' right in front of Joey's eyes.
Look at the kids. Look at the young people. Best educated, least prejudiced, most giving generation in American history. Turn on the television now. You turn on it. No, I'm serious.
Right, there's something to that, yeah.
No, I'm serious. You turn on the TV, look at the ads. When's the last time you saw biracial couples on TV? When's the last time you saw the way, people are selling products, they do ads to sell products. And they sell products when they appeal to people.
Guess who's coming to dinner? I guess not Lucy and Ricky Ricardo. Before we get to more of this nonsense involving the mainstream media outlets, let's get to the question of the day. Did you watch any of the January 6th committee hearings? We'll talk about it later in the video, so make sure you stay tuned. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you would share the video, then that would be pretty nice too. But back to Joe and the charade that was the 23-minute appearance on Jimmy Kimmel, which began with the lunacy of Joey wearing a mask, all alone backstage, and then taking it off when he came out from behind the Oz curtain to shake Jimmy's hand. At least the wizard behind the curtain was in control of what was happening in the land of Oz. Joe isn't even in control of his faculties. He's our scarecrow.
But here's the deal. One of the things is that it's very difficult now to have a, even with notable exceptions, even the really good reporters, they have to get the number of clicks on nightly news. Mm-hmm. So instead of asking a question, anyway, it just, everything gets sensationalized in ways that, but I'm convinced we can get through this. We have to get through it. And one of the things, look.
I'm going to take a break, and then we'll talk a little bit more, if you don't mind.
You.
I'm sorry. We have some of those commercials. We have some biracial commercials we need to show. We'll be back with President Biden.
This is so embarrassing. And even more embarrassing that you would need to be rescued by the racist Jimmy Kimmel.
Sometime at night, call below, look up in the sky, and say, what the hell going on up there?
But as they did with Jimmy and his blackface, they, the almighty institutions of Washington and the media overlords, just pretend it's all sunshine and rainbows. And since it's Rainbow Month, Nancy Pelosi had to get her pride on in her safe space.
Welcome back. My honor to be here to say to all of you how proud we all are of you. Thank you for the joy and beauty you bring to the world. Aww. Your freedom of expression of yourselves in drag is what America is all about. I say that all the time to my friends in drag.
Of course she walked the runway. She can't walk the aisle at Mass to receive communion anymore, so take a wafer from the only people who will worship you.
Can I get an amen?
Nancy is trying to get hip without throwing one out. With her second appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race, Nancy had to one-up the one and only Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was on RuPaul's Drag Race a year ago to show her woke bona fides.
I'm so thankful that you're part of our country.
Thank you.
I think you are fabulous.
But AOC revealed who she thinks is not fabulous over the weekend when she was asked to endorse Joe Biden for 2024.
About President Biden, he is saying he's going to run again in 2024. Will you support him?
You know, if the president chooses to run again in 2024, I mean, first of all, I'm focused on winning this majority right now and preserving a majority this year in 2022. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But I think if the president has a vision, then that's something certainly we're all willing to entertain and examine when the time comes.
That's not a yes.
Yeah, you know, I think we should endorse when we get to it. But I believe that the president has been doing a very good job so far. And, you know, should he run again, I think that I think it's we'll take a look at it.
Okay.
But right now we need to focus on winning a majority instead of a presidential election.
Awkward. I'd say that was a come-a-llama ding-dong word salad, but we actually all know what AOC means, even if she tried to defend herself on her favorite platform, the Instagram, after the interview. Claiming the endorsement question as a curveball, AOC said we're talking hypothetical and yada, yada, yada.
Yada, yada.
Yada what?
Yada, yada, yada.
If only George Costanza was one of AOC's constituents. Fun fact, the Seinfeld characters would be represented by Jerry Nadler. Anyway, back to the possibility of Joe Biden running in 2024.
Does the president have the stamina, physically and mentally, do you think, to continue on even after 2024?
Don, you're asking me this question. Oh my gosh, he's the president of the United States. You know, I can't even keep up with it. We just got back from New Mexico. We just got back from California. That is not a question that we should be even asking. Just look at the work that he does. Look how he's delivering for the American public.
What exactly would that be? Let's get to today's check-in on gas prices.
I am President of the United States of America, and the buck stops with me.
Same as last week, the prices have only increased. Looks like we have nationally mounted the back of Lincoln, and now we'll be paying one Lincoln and one little Lincoln per gallon of gas, now at $5.01, a nickel's increase from a week ago. You may have already been there where you live, and now you can feel comforted in knowing that we're all there now. Clearly, it's the gasoline's fault for all of this. Or Putin. Or Orange Man bad. But definitely not Biden's fault in any way. And let's just focus on the future, as described by AOC. Fossil fuels are old technology. We should all be getting heat pumps and going to electric vehicles, she says. It's also for the climate crisis. Darn those cow farts. AOC continued her Instagram question-answer session by bragging that she kept Walmart out of New York City. It's almost like when she kept Amazon out, too. Her argument is that wages would be driven down, and they are a pro-union, pro-small business, pro-immigrant city. She must also be pro-homeless, pro-crime, pro-breadlines. But what do I know? She's the one who earned an economics degree from Boston University. And she's a balanced person who checks in with herself and gets her nails done consistently for her self-care. She replays every single day to take notes so she can make improvements. And she keeps her honest friends close to her so they can encourage that personal growth. And she needs that growth. We all need some growth, especially in our bank accounts and our stocks because they are down and yada, yada, yada.
All the gains from President Biden's time in office have been wiped out.
So, as you know, we're watching closely. We know families are concerned about inflation in the stock market. That is something that the president is really aware of. And so, look, we face global challenges. We've talked about this. We're not the only country dealing with what we're seeing at the moment as it relates to inflation. You know, Putin's price hike, inflation coming out of a once-in-a-generation global pandemic. All of those things play a factor. And but the way that we see this is that the American people are well positioned to face these challenges because of the economic historic gains that we have made under this president in the last 16 months.
What's that you say? The U.S. inflation sped on up to a 40-year high in May, with the consumer price index increasing 8.6% in the past year? Come again? The figures dash any hope that inflation had already peaked and was starting to ebb. Record gasoline prices, paired with unrelenting food and shelter costs, are adding strain to Americans' cost of living, suggesting the Fed will have to pump the brakes on the economy even harder. That raises the risk of a recession, which some economists already saw as likely next year. Fine. I'll give Karine one more chance. Can you give us an answer on what is happening with the baby formula shortage?
Yeah, let me see if I have anything new for you on that. I think it's been a couple of days since we have been asked that question. Okay. I don't have anything new. I know we made some announcements last week.
Quick. What can we pivot to?
This will be a multimedia presentation with video, with documentary kind of feel to it. This will be the most highly produced congressional hearing in history.
Aha! Produced indeed. The primetime airing of the January 6th committee's hearings is a spectacle that has been happening since January 6th, 2021. Despite them being the progressive party, these politicians and media won't stop talking about January 6th, as if democracy depended on it, which is what they want you to think and be fearful of. If you use any logic, though, you know that democracy is not at stake, and since we are a constitutional republic, they should just sit right back down and read the Constitution.
So I come before you this evening, not as a Democrat, but as an American who swore an oath to defend the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't protect just Democrats or just Republicans. It protects all of us, we the people. And this scheme was an attempt to undermine the will of the people. So tonight, and over the next few weeks, we're going to remind you of the reality of what happened that day. But our work must do much more than just look backwards. Because of our democracy remains in danger.
Give him an Emmy. They are grasping at anything to make themselves feel superior. This is the strategy of the Democrats going into the fall. Let's throw out whatever we can and see if any of the spaghetti sticks to the wall. They decided to get their friends to air the hearings in prime time because it's yet another attempt to see if it sticks. They are that desperate for votes and will pander to it for all to hear.
With the midterm elections coming up, it's very important for people to make their voices and their vote heard.
They're begging for votes, especially for failed Georgia gubernatorial race baiter Stacey Abrams, who really is puffed enough, but Joe felt she needed some more puffing.
There's 3 things I learned about her early on. 1, she's loyal. 2, she's capable. And 3, she's smarter than you, me. She knows what she's doing.
You is smart, you is kind, you is important. That's so good.
I tell my son that he is kind, he is smart, and he is capable. But he's 2, not 48. And he's also not a delusional liar who thinks everyone is a racist. Am I talking about Stacey or Joe? You'll never know. But the answer is both. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and the Democrats are desperate. So don't expect them to focus their attention on anything that would actually help out you and me. It's only about getting votes in November, and that calls for some pandering. So as I pander to you, remember to give your F's, faith, family, and friends. Because you is smart, you is kind, you is not a Democrat. Also, feel free to share this video with that announcement. Until next time, stay healthy, America.
If you have a question for Dr. Duke and Katie, please send it our way by emailing askduke@fpeusa.org.
And that's a wrap for this show. Hey, Betsy DeVos and all you out there, you really want our vote? Then when you have power, use it. I'm Dr. Duke. Until next time, stay educated, my friends.